here at the end of the inaugural Dud Month have how do we feel? Have we learned anything? Have we
What I've learned is that it's actually quite difficult, apparently, to hit that perfect balance of badness with absurdity, to like get that golden ratio of all the things that make duds spuds. And it is, I feel like, if you were to look through all of the ones that we've done for the show, the spud to dud hit ratio, I feel like maybe we've done like 5 buds. It's probably more than that.
I can
But
check.
if it feels like out of all of them, it's actually like, that's what I've learned, is that it's actually quite hard to like just really find something like those gems. Because I know who killed Captain Alex. I know Ben and Arthur are for sure spuds. Is the Love on Unleashed? Is that one a spud? Did we put that one in? Okay,
we both said spud.
I don't think the Gary Busey dog one was a spud. I think
it might have been. It was close. It
was on a cusp for sure.
How many movies do we have total? So I have 37 movies logged on the list.
Okay.
We have 11. I don't do like, number ratings for these like I do for the other ones. I just do like a percentage, like however, if there's 4 of us, 3 of us say yes, one of us says no, it's 75%. So we have 11 100% spuds. That's where everybody on that episode said it was a spud. So that's
interesting.
That's almost
Miami Connection's got to be
3.
one of them then.
Yeah, I'll show you what we got. So our 100% spuds: Ben and Arthur, Crime Wave, Love on a Leash, Vampire's Kiss, Who Killed Captain Alex, Miami Connection, Dreamer the movie, Fateful Findings, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and Jack Frost.
Okay, the horror one.
Yes, yeah. But then we got some others that I think are just as good. Like that's from Justin Tegeli is a 75% spud.
Oh, I feel like Isaiah was like the one who dragged that down. He was like so mad about that movie.
Yeah, he was. 2025, The World Enslaved by a Virus. That was 66%. Okay. That was 2 out of 3.
I think I was the holdout on that one. Maybe. Was it Moose?
It was Moose. Yeah, he hated it. He hated it.
It's like I did too. Yeah, but
yeah.
Okay.
And then let's see. I will say there's not. Well, no, it's actually kind of split. So it's 1 through 11 are 100% spuds, and then any range in between, like, not 100% either way, is 12 to 21. So that's like 10 more, and then 22 through 37 is 100% dud. So
yeah,
the duds still have it.
Like, okay, yeah, because that's what like disaster movie, inappropriate comedy, like
Alone in the Dark.
Really Alone in the Dark. Although I mean there were some moments at Alone in the Dark. I think there were definitely
there's some moments in
some spuddy moments.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious to see where this one will land.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, I think kind of alongside that, like not just like what it takes to make a spud, but also just what takes to, like, I can't even quantify what I say is a dud, but I know the ones that I put in the cup. I'm like that. I mean, because it's my own dumb, ambiguous like reasoning. So I'm like, I know the ones that I put in there are what I'm imagining. Where some of them, like we said, like Would You Rather, is like maybe that one's not quite fitting in a way. So there's a particular mixture, whether it's a spud, whether it is a spud or a dud. To be a proper dud cup movie, that's also a particular mixture. That's kind of hard to come by.
Yeah, like that horror one that I put in that I remember laughing at, and then the one that the phone app,
Bedeviled.
Bedeviled,
Yeah.
where I had a good time watching that the first time I
Mm-hmm.
saw it like 6 years ago, and then we watched it again, and it didn't have the same shine that it did back in the day.
See, but here's what I'll give you. Like, yeah, that's a dud. I'm not taking that back. It sucked.
Yeah,
It was boring.
Oh yeah.
But I think it fits in the Dud Cup. I think it's an appropriate Dud Cup movie where I can give even some of the ones that I absolutely hate, like Megan is Missing. I'm like, belongs in the
I know
Dud
why
Cup.
it's in there. It makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Whereas, like you said, Crime Wave, and I don't know, maybe we had this discussion during that episode too, but I don't know. You could almost amend that one out.
I think we almost did. I do think we had some kind of.
But I think with Crime
yeah.
Wave, it's like there's enough weirdness surrounding it, like studio meddling, like both. I feel like Sam Raimi and the Coens kind of distance themselves from it a little bit. Like even they see it almost as like a lesser work. I think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there are arguments. You know, my own personal love of that movie notwithstanding.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right, so same time next year?
Yeah. Let's not do duds for a while now. Let's
for a few weeks.
Pulling for a normal movie is gonna be weird. I gotta change my headspace. I gotta get out of like anticipating this. Like my body is gonna like sit down to watch it, and I'm gonna like I gotta like relax your shoulders. It's not a dud this week.
Welcome back to There Will Be Duds, ladies and gents. This is episode 147, and I am your co-host DJ, and with me as always,
I am Nick.
And as always, here at the end of the aforementioned Dud Month, we watched a movie, another dud. We picked a special one for this. We decided to go with a movie called Mac and Me from 1988, directed by Stuart Raffel. It follows an alien child stranded on Earth along with his family, which he gets separated from. He encounters a boy who just recently moved to California with his family, and I guess they kind of become friends sort of eventually, and then he helps him find his family, and instead of like E.T. return to his home planet, allows them to become citizens of the United States of America.
Kind of ripped the Band-Aid off of that one immediately. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And I made sure to have these guys here because this one, the one who's facing away, that's Mac. So it's Mac. Mac and me. I wanted to have them here for this, and thankfully they're young kittens, so you can just kind of plop them anywhere and they'll fall asleep.
And they're just like, yeah, whatever. Cool.
Yeah. Which Kalia did name him specifically after this.
After this movie.
Yeah, because she this was a childhood favorite of hers.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So, yeah. What do we think? This is this is kind of not on the level of like a Troll 2, but I think it's near there. It's kind of in a higher echelon of known bad movies.
Yeah. Well, first things first, I just gotta say, your description and intro really took it out of me. I'm pretty exhausted, so I do need some sustenance.
Oh, nice.
So I'm gonna go ahead and take a.
I just have I guess I can product placement.
Coca-Cola here.
Star Wars. Here's my Star Wars mug with the porgs.
I might. Do you want any? I got some Skittles.
Nice. Nice. So we watched it yesterday, and and I went out and got us some McDonald's to eat with it.
Yes, I thought about doing that, but like the timing would have been weird because I just would have had like a Big Mac sitting at my desk until we started recording. It would have gotten like
cold and yeah.
Yeah.
I had this idea early on and then realized that this would not work. But I was like thinking of how we did the Lord of the Rings marathon and we did like all the Hobbit meals. Instead of that, it's just you eat or drink whatever they're like eating or drinking on there, and you would have to down like 30 plus Cokes. I did not realize there was going to be that much Coke.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said this is like a childhood favorite of Kalia's. I'm pretty sure either my grandma had an official copy or she taped it off of TV. But like we also watched this as a kid, and I do not remember it being as dark as it was. Like,
okay,
there are certain things I do remember, but this movie takes a few turns. And especially near the end is kind of dark for a children's movie. Which I had to keep reminding myself. I was like, oh yeah, this is a movie meant for kids. Which obviously the stuff that like subliminally is meant for kids is like all of the product placement.
Yeah.
I was almost gonna save this for post chat, but I think it's relevant here a little bit because we've been watching Malcolm in the Middle on like Saturday, Sunday mornings, like we make breakfast, kind of like, Saturday morning cartoons or a show or whatever. And the one that we watched today is one where like Dewey's watching the TV and it kind of does that tunnel vision and like the TV's talking directly to him.
Okay.
It's like this blue elephant guy and he's like, Dewey, don't you love me? Tell your mom to go buy me. And then let's like, so you just kind of see everything through Dewey's vision. And then he goes to his mom and he's like, Mom, can I have that? And she's like, no, Dewey. And then it cuts to Dewey's vision. And she's like, ask me again in 4 seconds. So it's, but I was thinking about that while watching this movie, just like all like the Ronald McDonald being in this movie, like all the like references to like Skittles and Coca-Cola, just like, just beaming that shit right into kids' heads.
Yeah. I wonder how Skittles got in on this, because this was the McDonald's movie. They were like a producer, whatever. So okay, that Coke makes sense in a way, and then Skittles just gets, it's mentioned less, but it's there. It's the other major product placement. So
there's like that scene where like he's in the back seat with them, and they're kind of like oh, I think he's thirsty. Give him this, and like you see the hand come into frame with the Coke prominently labeled. It's like, oh, is he hungry?
Time.
Here, give him some of these. And it's like you see the full Skittles bag like pass in front of the camera, just like completely unobstructed.
Yeah.
So this movie, I guess people say it's like an E.T. ripoff.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I've seen E.T. in its entirety.
Oh, okay.
It's another one of those grandma movies where
it's weirdly
she
similar.
taped it up. She taped it off the TV, and like it was on while I was there, but I never really like. I don't have that like childhood connection to it like people have with like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and like those movies.
Yeah.
So I know the basic story of E.T. where and like the whole time, because I think in E.T. you're sympathetic to E.T. Like you're sympathetic.
Yeah.
You want him to get home to his family, and the movie draws at your heartstrings. Because I know there's like a scene where like E.T. dies or almost dies, and they kind of bring him back. And I know at the end he's reunited and everything's happy. And then watching this, I wished for nothing but death and destruction to all of these aliens.
Okay.
I wanted them dead. I hated them. I hated the way that they looked.
Ouch.
I hated their weird it's like they had sex doll mouth.
Yeah.
Like the
kind of
like I'm thinking of like the Glenn Howerton sex doll from like It's Always Sunny, where he's like,
yeah,
like that's all I could think of. It's just uncanny valley to the max.
Yeah.
the way that like the dad would just kind of look. I don't know, something about it filled me with rage. So,
I think Mac is pretty cute. I don't know.
they're okay. They're okay, like
mostly just
occasionally,
Mac.
like
I think the adults look fucked. Like the adults look so
do,
weird.
They really do.
I think it's because their eyes get like smaller, so it's like Mac has like the big like puppy dog eyes, so it makes him easier to be cute.
Yeah.
Definitely weird though. There is like a weird uncanniness to him, and like it's definitely not as the puppeteering work is not as smooth as ET, so it does look a bit janky.
Yeah, I did like that Max the body changed so much in this movie, and I'm not even talking about like the sort of like slapstick, like, oh, he got hit on the windshield, so he's like splattered like a cartoon. Whenever like Mac had to move, it was clearly that he just had like a kid in a costume running around, because it's like, I think when you first meet him, he's like that big, like he's supposed to be a little guy.
Yeah, like,
and then you get to the McDonald's scene when he's in the bear costume, and it's just like a 6-year-old child.
Yeah.
Like,
and
he's huge.
Everybody's like cheering him on the counter, and like all he's doing is going like, but they're like, but everybody's like losing their shit. Like he's like doing like going so hard, but he's just like, he's doing like the like a like 50s kind of just basic doo-wop sort of jig,
doing like the Pee Wee Herman, like They should have hired like a teen break dancer to just like go completely apeshit on the counter of the McDonald's in there.
They had all those like choreographed dancers like inside and outside of McDonald's, like they do in real life at every McDonald's you go to.
Yeah.
So like they could have just had one more of those like in the bear costume or whatever.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I knew that was like one of the scenes that I knew. I mostly knew. There's like the McDonald's scene that's pretty famous, and then the Paul Rudd scene.
Yes.
But I was beaming through the whole McDonald's scene. I fucking loved it so much. It was so great. And it was like, it's like I think it's because it's like, it's insanely egregious product placement. It's crazy. Yes. But it was awesome. It was like, because it was so bald-faced, crazy shit.
Yeah, because like it wasn't just like, oh, here, do you want a Big Mac? And then it's just like the hand comes out and it's like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't try to just like shoehorn it into the dialogue, which would never sound natural.
Shoehorn it into an entire scene, basically.
Well, that's I feel like that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah,
like if you're gonna do it big.
Yeah.
Like I literally, as soon as like the boombox gets put down in the parking lot, and then you see like people step over it and start going, I'm like, oh okay, I'm in. I'm on board for this.
Yeah.
But what I did like about that scene is like whenever there's a group scene of people dancing, especially like kids, I try to scan the background, because there are definitely like a handful of kids that are just like
not pulling their weight. Yeah.
They're just like, because like trying to get kids to act and like pretend to act excited probably is like not easy for them. They're just like, this is lame and stupid, but my mom dragged me to an audition, so I guess I have to do this.
Yeah.
So there's just kids back there just like apparently Jennifer Aniston is in that scene. Like her
I think I knew that.
First.
Yeah. I think
but I had to rewind
it.
But like if you look close, she's like at the beginning she's one of the girls like sitting on the curb.
Okay.
So like you see her for a split second, but I guess she's like uncredited, but it's one of her earliest
roles.
Appearances.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know if you were gonna keep going.
Okay, there was one point with the Coca-Cola that it was like, I feel like if you took like the Stanley Kubrick, like his perspective, like how all of his stuff kind of goes right to the center of the screen. I feel like there was one scene where literally he set a can of Coke down on like a countertop, and if you had applied those lines on the screen, that can of Coke would have been like dead center,
Yeah.
like perspective right in the middle of it.
That's funny.
And I was like, damn, they're not even trying to be subtle about it.
I did like when you see them on their the opening scene when they're on their like home planet, and you see them like drinking out of like a spring, I guess. I was like, I was like, that's McDonald's like Coke. That's what it is. And then like they more or less confirm it that like he's like drinking Coke and like, oh, that must be like what they drink on their planet. So it's like Coca-Cola, the water of life. Or
yeah, for real. Because honestly, I think what would have been a more realistic thing that would have happened is just like some alien from another planet comes to Earth, and like you give him a Coca-Cola, it's like dead instantly. Like,
yeah.
Coca-Cola and Skittles are two of like the most like toxic processed shit we've ever made. And he would, there's that meme of just like this would kill like a child in peasant times immediately if he ever had like, a Snickers bar or something like that. It's like,
yeah,
they would be dead immediately.
yeah.
I feel like we're jumping around to like our favorite spots. It's because like the plot is really just kind of super basic.
Sure. Yeah, we
but
can attack it like in a more linear fashion if you want, or like if you had a
real quick.
Sure.
Did you look up any of the scenes that were cut from this movie?
Mm-mm.
There's one in particular that I think would have made this viewing extremely hilarious.
Okay.
But incredibly dark.
Okay.
Apparently, this cut made it over to Japan, but it was cut in America. So near the end of the movie, like with the police shootout.
Yeah. No.
There's a scene that got cut where
okay.
Eric gets blasted. I'll find it and I'll send it to you, and you definitely need to insert it because what happens? It's after like the main alien like takes the gun from the supermarket security guard who was apparently packing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah.
But so it's like when all the sheriff and like the cops show up, and it's like that scene where Eric is just like, no, I'll go get him. And he kind of breaks free and he starts wheeling away. And I think it's like they run to try to stop him. The cop trips, falls over, and his gun goes off. And like there's a clear shot of Eric he just goes like they planted a squib on him, and it goes and he's like, oh, and he just kind of goes limp in the road, and his wheelchair keeps going. And then then it cuts to the father alien with his gun who returns fire. And then the big shootout happens, and then the mall that was rigged to explode apparently blows up. And then you see like the dark superimposed kid on the wheelchair on the screen.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the movie, they're like, the doctor's like, he's dead. There's nothing I can do. And I'm like, what killed him? What killed him?
Yeah. I wondered. I guess it was like the force of the explosion. Like it was too close, but I don't know. Like, yeah. So that does kind of make it seem like they were just editing around the gunshot, but it was like he did get shot essentially or whatever, and
yeah,
they just cut it out of the version that we got.
He goes, and he like.
I like that he keeps rolling. Oh, yep, yeah, and then the explosion. Yeah, so it does feel like they just edited around it, and they just hoped that people wouldn't think too hard.
And then apparently they ADR'd over them saying he's dead, apparently the ADR saying he's gone. I think they tried to like soften the language a little bit so it wasn't kids watching a movie where it's like he died, he's dead and gone forever.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to remind kids of like mortality, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like I just saw Ronald McDonald. It was the best day of my life. Wait, am I gonna die someday?
Yeah, that whole thing was that's funny because I was thinking like the whole time like how they would just get like how they would have just been erased from existence by like the FBI, like the X-Files like lackeys that were like chasing after them, like, and they can't his older brother and the girl like come by in the van and they like pick him up as the guys chase him out of his Sears, and then they're like, oh no, we don't have cars or anything, like, I mean, they didn't have drones necessarily, but like stealth copters would just like bomb the van that they're in or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. Someone in Washington like making the call, telling them it's okay to like take out the kids because like the national security is more important than a few kids' lives or something like that.
Yeah. Or like,
well, that was like
or
a
like
joke
torturing their mother at like when she comes out and she's like, those are my kids, and they're like, oh, and then because she just like shows up with them at the end like in the helicopter, like they were just kind of hanging out the whole time, just but like
waterboarding her.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Halfway through I kind of wrote down a joke. I was like, this is like one of those movies that someone would do like a critical reevaluation of and be like, it's like a 6-hour long video about how this is actually about assimilation in America, and that's why there's advertisements all over the place, and it's really a critique. And then at the end of the movie they become fully like naturalized citizens, and I was like, oh, it's not even subtle. Like, I don't think they were thinking about that while they were making the movie, but it is kind of interesting to think about it that way. It's like the It's Always Sunny when they do the extreme home makeover and they break down the Juarez family's house and they just cover them in like American shit and put like contact lenses in their eyes.
Yeah, and then the dad who like a couple days ago, or however, I mean, it could have been longer between the last scene and the one before, but like who just in the couple scenes before like was acting like a child who couldn't keep his hands to himself. It's like driving a car down like a Los Angeles freeway. It's funny if you just see a media like 90 car pile up like
yeah, kills like 15 people or something.
Yeah. It sucks like watching movies like this as an adult now, because like every time the police are there, like, at the end of I'm like, they would have been shot by now. They would all be dead. There's no way.
100%. They because like the guy has a gun, the dad alien has a gun, and he just walks right through the police barricade, and they're just like, okay, I guess. Like, they just let him go by, and it's like, no, like if this were America now, or probably even back then, they would have mag dumped into that guy. Like he would have been Swiss cheese so fast.
Yeah.
Although, okay, so speaking of the McDonald's stuff, there was an interesting tidbit that I saw. It was actually on the Wikipedia page that apparently, let me find it, because it had something to do with, with like Disney, that apparently McDonald's cut a deal with Disney, and then they were mad that they still had to make this movie. I guess Raffle was a little bit more defensive about this movie, because I guess he was really proud of the fact that they hired a kid who actually had spina bifida, so he was wheelchair bound, and he'd never acted before, which he says he was a great actor, or he was great in this movie. I would say he's maybe like 60-40. He's okay and then kind of bad the rest of the time.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, so regarding like the McDonald's Disney stuff, he said Raffle says the moment Disney heard we had this deal with McDonald's, they went in and hammered out a 3-year deal to get all their toys put in their Happy Meals and have that relationship with Coca-Cola. As such, the McDonald's people were then not particularly enthused with us, as they now had Disney, but they had to fulfill their arrangement with us. So basically, like, they got Disney, but then we're like,
Oh, I see.
oh, we still gotta fund this guy's shit.
Oh,
And then this is
shit.
what
Interesting.
and then he turns in a movie where a kid in a wheelchair gets shot and flung down a hill into like a huge lake.
Damn, that's not.
Which is actually it's actually awesome, because I know like a lot of those, I mean Disney especially, but I feel like even McDonald's and like all these big mega corporations are like extremely precious about their branding and their public opinion. So just like someone turning in a movie like this, they're probably like, I apparently
awesome.
even reading on here, they didn't want Ronald McDonald to appear in the movie either.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. I always, that's funny that it's like the opposite. It's like that McDonald's got tricked into like funding a movie, whereas I always thought that this was like the opposite. I thought this was like the McDonald's movie, and they were like, they weren't going to make a movie about McDonald's, but they were like, well, yeah, we're going to have a shitload of McDonald's product placement in it. So, but that's funny that it was the other way around, pretty much.
I wonder if the guy who played Ronald McDonald, like, probably has a certain salary, or he probably got paid a shitload of money to be in this.
Probably,
so they're probably
yeah.
like, we don't want to pay this dude out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. That's not what I expected at all. Yeah, because like even the character like works in McDonald's, and like how much time they like mention that.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking? A Big Mac? Yeah, you're a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. They name
also
drop
the
Big
fact
Mac
that like the
times.
alien's name is Mac.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they don't say it, but I was like, oh, the dad is Big Mac, right? Huh?
Oh, that's so good. That would have been so good.
They should have done it. Yeah.
They really should have. Oh, if you're Mac, I guess you're Big Mac.
Yeah. And then and how she's like, you see the older sister of Debbie, Courtney, I think. You see her.
Yeah.
You see her in like normal clothes like the first 2 times you see her in like short scenes. The rest of the movie, she is in her McDonald's uniform.
Yep.
Like they're driving the van through the desert to find like his family in the cave. She's still in the McDonald's uniform.
What, there are those golden arches, baby, right there, front and center. You'd never have a time to not think about it.
They're there like in the police standoff of like the explosion and the people getting shot. She's still in the McDonald's uniform. Yeah, it's that the music is by Alan Silvestri, which blew my mind. That's nuts. He's done.
I didn't know. Yeah,
he's done a lot of stuff with like Robert Zemeckis. Like he did Back to the Future is probably his most famous score. He did like Forrest Gump and stuff too. And like I thought it was so funny how like it like in like the first scene you hear the music that plays during the scene that Paul Rudd always plays at Conan, and it was so funny because like I wasn't thinking of that, but the music starts playing, and in my head I was like, oh, this sounds familiar, but I was like, oh, but there's no way that because it's from this movie. There's no way that I've heard this music before. And then I was like, oh no, it is from this movie. It's from the Paul Rudd scene. It was a very surreal like realization. And they play it a lot too. That little sting, I noticed a lot.
Yeah, because oh man, basically had to like try to emulate, because it's like Steven Spielberg and John Williams. I'm assuming he did E.T.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's got to like basically come up with a counterpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Did E.T. have its own specific like theme? Like, I'm sure if I heard it.
Yes. Same. I can't think of it right now, but yes, it did.
I was half expecting there to be some sort of similar scene with like the moon.
Oh yeah.
But maybe that would have been a little too on the nose.
Yeah. No, they do have like, I don't know, like the Skittles in this are equivalent to Reese's Pieces in
That's right.
in E.T. And like he has an older brother that kind of is like, I mean, that's not super unique. It's kind of almost like a trope to have like the older brother who's kind of a dick to the younger brother. So that it can't really say, but he did really remind me of the older brother from E.T.
Is it like a single mom situation too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
And I don't think they like had just moved to California, but I will tell you the neighborhood they're in this is exactly like the one in E.T. It almost looks like the same place, like the same fucking street.
Yeah,
at
it's
times.
like, if they all shot it in California, there's
Again,
a reason that it looks similar.
Yeah, again, some of it's probably just coincidental. It's L.A. The shooting, like sure.
Yeah.
But still,
it was on their mind.
Yeah, it was not at least influenced at the very least by E.T. The other like image or like scene or whatever I knew about from this too was because it's on the back of the DVD. It's an image of them like in their suits at the end when they're becoming citizens or whatever.
Yeah.
So I saw that like out of context. I would have been so cool. I was totally expecting like a third act like courtroom drama, like where they have to like fight, like and I thought that's where it was leading after the whole standoff in the parking lot, and they were
quizzing
gonna
them on the Constitution.
No, like not. I didn't know naturalized citizen thing was gonna be a thing at all. I thought like they get to the parking lot, there's the standoff and everything, and then I thought there was gonna be a trial, and they were gonna have to like defend themselves or whatever, and then maybe like all the people who witnessed that, they were like, oh no, they saved that boy's life, they're good, and like the citizenry like stands up for them and gets their back. But I totally thought the dad was gonna have to like mime his way through like a court trial. Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. He's like, ooh.
That like weird like
I also like the when they were in that scene and the judge guy was like reading all of, put your right hand up, blah 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 blah, you have to do this and this and that, like he was talking about like getting drafted and shit.
Yeah.
Like basically like, yeah, if your country's under attack, you have to defend it. Which then it's like, okay, what, 1988? I'm just picturing like the sequel, and like the dad gets drafted to go to like Kuwait in like 19 like he has to go to like Desert Storm.
Yeah.
And he's just it's like oh it's all just sand and dirt out here, and the alien's just like, ooh, and he knows how to navigate because he's used to living on like barren deserts.
Yeah.
Because like at the end they do that bubble and it says "We'll be back," which I was like, come on, give me more. I want a sequel to this.
Yeah, like Black Hawk Down with the dad. Or like, and then for like the Iraq war, when Mac is like of age, they can do the Hurt Locker with Mac.
Mac is the one that finds Saddam Hussein like in his bunker.
Yeah. There was something I was actually like impressed by with this. Is there's some pretty like cool and nutty, like just a couple like stunts. Like it's a scene where he's being chased by the FBI guys on foot, and he like rounds the corner onto this really busy street, and it's like in front of Eric as he's like going down the road. And like, I mean, unless this was like masterclass green screen at the time, I'm pretty sure it was done like on location and everything. But there's like a shot where he's wheeling and it's the actual kid. It's because it's close up like right on him, and you see like cars like like swerving and like crashing behind him.
Yeah,
it was nuts. And then you get reverse shots where it's definitely a double, but there's still like cars going like in and around him and stuff. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah, I feel like they put this kid in danger. Like,
yeah, yeah, I feel yeah, me too.
Although, yeah, it was 100% a stunt person who was in the wheelchair during like the fall into like the lakes.
Yeah, if not a dummy, I'm not sure. One of the other, yeah. They definitely had for those reverse shots. When he was going down the road with all the cars, it was clearly an adult in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But every time you saw the front, it was the actor, and
yeah,
he was still doing some stuff. And then the next one isn't so much like a stunt. I mean, it's in a way, but I thought the shot where the van was like driving through the desert and they have like the herd of like horses running around them, that was also really cool. I really dug that shot. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, it kind of took me out where I was like, oh, this is almost like a normal movie. Like there's something special about that. It's interesting at the very least.
That shot in particular, that scene, that shot in particular, that was like the most like E.T. feeling, like that magic feeling that E.T. has, which could have been what they were trying to emulate. I mean, obviously somewhat, but that's the one where it was like the most like effective or accurate or what have you. I thought that was really neat.
And then, I mean, it's not really like insane cinematography, but like they clearly had like an explosives budget.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They spared no expense in blowing that mall up.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, crazy. And sorry, in that scene too, there is, when the thing explodes and Eric's there's a person in that chair when it explodes, because you see the arms go like they like fly back. Yeah. So I don't know if they used that kid for that, but there was somebody like close-ish to the explosion.
Yeah. Oh. And then it cuts to like the alien family, like right before they save him, and they look like demons in hell.
Yeah.
You see like the flames, and then you see their silhouettes, and it's like, that's the scariest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah. And they even have tiny little like little horns.
Like little devil horns.
Yeah.
Kids, that was like a really good punchline when they're becoming naturalized citizens. Mac is wearing a McKids shirt.
Oh, he is? Oh, okay. I was trying to read what his shirt said. I couldn't tell.
That's because I was fully like in that mindset of like joking around about it being assimilating into American culture, and then it's just like, this is so on the nose. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I really have anything. I know this is a little shorter. I guess I don't know. I felt like I had stuff to talk about. We just kind of like got right through it, because the rest, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
I feel like there's more insane shit that we're probably forgetting.
Yeah.
Maybe because I do think it does drag a little bit in some spots.
Okay.
Maybe, like, I don't know. It's an hour 40, which I was like, come on, this needs to be like 88 minutes.
Yeah.
But then again, you can't cut the McDonald's thing.
No. Yeah.
You can't
No.
cut that. Maybe cut some of the like alien, some of Mac like messing around in the house and messing stuff up.
That's
Because
something.
I feel
Yeah.
like it was like 40 minutes until
At
like
least. Yeah.
until they actually like basically formally met. Because up until then it was sort of like cat and mouse. Oh, Mac messes something up. My mom doesn't believe me because he's an alien, and they kind of like do this back and forth a few times, and it does take a while for like the actual story to get going.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's a good point. That was something I like checked the time, and when I checked, it was like at 38 minutes. And they still hadn't like met, and it was still another couple scenes before they did. It's like, this is really weird. Like E.T., it's like you get it's pretty quick, you get kind of an establishing thing, the kids at the house, and then like nighttime, and there's something in the cornfield, and then it's E.T. And I think maybe there's like one more little bit where they like are separated, but then they meet up, and then they're kind of like, their friendship, their relationship develops. But in this, it's like, like half of the movie or something, and they've just like catching glimpses of each other, and then like there's not a whole lot. They try to do the like, E.T. like, oh, it's a cute little alien creature, and he's endearing himself to the kids and stuff, and they care about him and everything, but like you don't really get a lot of time with him or they don't have a lot of time like with each other, so it's like it makes it kind of like weirder to take or whatever. This is just so like that part, the relationship is so kind of expedited in this. Really weird.
And then the FBI subplot seemed to be underdeveloped, I guess.
Sure.
Like I feel like they just kind of showed up near the end, and then the fact that they just were like running into the courthouse to see these aliens like become citizens, and they're like,
why?
And it's like, no, you're the feds, you're supposed to suppress it, like, but maybe maybe it's a pro alien movie, like like if we met some aliens, you know what, they could assimilate and become Americans just like us, and it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's a very pro alien movie.
Maybe that is what, maybe it's not just like simplifying or cutesifying like politics and all that for kids. Maybe that's an intentional message by the filmmaker to be like, no, this is how it should be.
Or they're just gonna exploit their abilities of like being able to pull people back to life.
Yeah, that's true. Or like they're like really strong too, because the dad like ties a knot in the tire iron or whatever. So harvest their genes to make like super soldiers.
Okay, now I know why the feds were so excited about this. It's just like every time someone dies, they're just like, all right, do your light as a feather, stiff as a board shit, and bring them back to life. And it's like, kill me. Like, can you imagine like the forms of torture that the FBI could do? They could essentially kill you and then have these aliens bring you back to life and just keep doing it over and over and over again.
Jesus. It wasn't one of those that it didn't feel like a nothing movie at the time. I had a mostly pretty good time. I'll tell you my sort of breakdown, my experience, that like I actually like this is one where like I don't think it like, I think this is one where I think it's where it belongs in the Dud Cup, and yet, and this is kind of like a crime wave thing to a lesser extent, despite that, I didn't think it was like a terrible movie. I think if we were rating this on our normal scale, I would go like a 5 or 6 or something. Like I think it's like a fun kids movie, but it's also very hard to take it at face value because of the McDonald stuff, and because of it being a somewhat, I won't say like full on like blatant ripoff of ET, but kind of.
Yeah.
But there's like those two major factors that kind of hamper it being like just kind of standing on its own two legs. If it didn't have that, if it didn't have those, or if it didn't have one of those, you know, maybe if ET didn't exist, or
sure,
it wasn't the McDonald's movie, I guess. No, I don't know. The McDonald's stuff makes it so much better, though. That's part of why I like it. But see, that's why I also think it is a spud. So like, I enjoyed it as like a normal movie enough that I was like, yeah, like, you know, this is one like as a kid, if I like when this came out, I probably would have thought like loved it, or even afterwards if it was like on VHS, I probably would have watched this a bunch. But also there's like spud qualities to it, so it's like I think it's somewhat good, or at least okay good, and bad good, or good bad, or whatever. It's got kind of both pieces of both halves of the cake, whatever, I don't know, metaphor. Both halves of the apple pie thingy that you can get at McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's like, but in both aspects, it's not like, you know, like I said, like 5 or 6. It's like a middling kind of like all right kids movie with some weird aspects, and it's not like a, you know, all caps spud, but it's a spud. You know, I land positively on both scales, but not super strongly on either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm in a very, very similar boat where because I know about this movie from, like, you know, Paul Rudd constantly trolling Conan O'Brien by showing this clip like all the time. And yeah, I knew about it from like the very explicit like corporate commercial for McDonald's that happens in this movie. All those things in mind, like, it's still, I was like, this is like a okay kids movie, like, because I feel like sometimes you could probably watch some of those kids movies from back then and you're like, this is terrible. Like, this is meant for dumb babies. But this, you know, this again, it's a little, I thought the ending was a little dark and bleak for a kids movie, like, especially you know, considering where they wanted to go, which was him getting blasted at the end. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't egregiously bad. And like, yes, it is corporate, you know, McDonald's you know, just product placement, but at least they tried to, like, it's like, oh, she's got to go to work. Like, she works at a McDonald's. She's like of that age where like that's probably like her first job. That at least sort of makes sense. Like, it's not like it's not like they're just like, let's just go there for no reason and then it turns into like a music video. Like, it's at least like, you know, part of the plot, if you will. And then the spud-like qualities, I think this would work on the spud scale, in the sense where I think if you watch this with a group of people and everyone was kind of riffing on it, I think it'd be a good time. Where something like After Last Season would be a bad like, party. Mac and Me would be a good, like, you know, everyone's kind of cracking jokes and making fun of it as you're watching it. I think it'd be a good party favor movie. So yeah, I don't know where I would land on like the normal cup scale. Probably somewhere around a 4 or a 5, if we're being completely honest. But yeah, it's a light spud. It's they're McDonald's fries. They're not piping hot and fresh, but they're pretty good.
I can't believe it. I usually like to do potato metaphors, and then just like completely, just like I didn't even engage with that.
Those golden arches in one of those big red cups with the fries.
It's just be flashing McDonald's imagery throughout this episode.
Yeah, for real. It's a spud. I feel like we needed to end Dud Month on a good old
Yes.
spud, so we did it.
I am glad that we did that, because we had been on a run of duds.
To the point where Would You Rather got lifted out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jesus, dud. What did I say? I think the last spud we did was that Silent Night Deadly Night back for Christmas. That was our last spud dud cup movie.
I feel like the Bad Pack was close.
Could have been. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, nothing. Those movies need a Ricky. They need a garbage day moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It needed Roddy Piper to be like more Roddy Piper and not just like generic kind of personality-less white guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, good one to end on. I'm glad that we pulled through. So I saw the other day, yesterday maybe the day before. I went and saw the First Omen, because we had it at the theater. When this was announced, I don't know if I even heard about this until I heard that we were getting it at the theater, and my initial thought was like, oh, another whatever numbered sequel to an old horror franchise. It's probably going to be terrible. There was the Exorcist one that came out last year that was apparently like god awful.
Yeah.
There's, it's just one of those. Yeah, it happens every year. A classic horror franchise gets another remake or installment or whatever. I've only ever seen the original Omen. I remember liking it. No interest in seeing the rest, but this is a long preamble to say that I had zero interest in seeing this, and yet I kept hearing like not amazing but like good things about it. And I had a good time seeing Godzilla and Kong the other week in the theater, just seeing a new movie in the theater. So I was like, yeah, I kind of feel like doing that again. So I went and saw it. I was the only one in the theater when I saw it. And it was good. I was pleasantly surprised. It was not amazing. I have issues with it, but it was a solid horror movie for, again, like an origin. It is like the kind of Omen origin.
Yeah, the Omen's like Devil Child essentially.
Yeah,
right?
it's the Antichrist. The kid, the Damien is the Antichrist, and it's like these American people like adopt him. They don't. He's just from an orphanage, like at a Catholic thing, orphanage. They don't know, where he's from, who his parents are, or whatever, and weird stuff starts happening as he gets older, and he's really creepy, and they discover through that he's the Antichrist, and so the First Omen is basically the origin of that. It takes place like, I guess, like a few years before or whatever, and it's like before he's born, essentially. It's like they're getting to that point, like the mother, like finding the mother and having her like give birth to the Antichrist. It's like a cult stuff trying to like bring that about. And you follow this girl who's like coming to Italy to like become a nun, and it's like, oh, this is where the stuff is kind of going on. It almost has, not really, but it kind of in a way sort of made me think of Suspiria. She's like coming to Italy. She's an American coming into this kind of closed off, secluded organization, and weird culty stuff going on. And yeah, there's stuff like, there's some, like, it tries to pull some like twists on you near the end where like it's one of those where like if you've seen any movie before, you can kind of see him coming a mile away, sort of thing. But it delivers on like the presentation of it. I really dug the music and sound design for a lot of the horror scenes. There's this really pervasive like bassy, throaty noise that plays through a lot of like the spooky scenes that are really cool. There was a scene in particular that I thought was terrifying.
Nice. Okay.
There's some pretty good like kills, some pretty shocking imagery. Like again, just for a mainstream horror movie for what it is, I was pleasantly surprised in like all fronts. My biggest gripe is like really, I think if you trimmed out, because it is 2 hours, it's like 2 hours like on the dot, and the first act, I would say, like when she gets to the ministry and she's just kind of like, before like a bunch of weird stuff happens, like you get an opening scene where there's like a priest who's like going to another priest and he's like, have you heard about what they're doing, you know, kind of like setting up like the horror, and then you know, one of them dies at the end of it. Yeah, that kind of thing. But then after that, it's a good chunk of the movie with like barely any scary scenes, like basically nothing. And I really feel like if you truncate that first act, get it down to like 100 minutes, I'm not even saying a tight 90, get it down to 100 minutes, I think it'd be even better. Like I think I would be praising it even more. I think it's worth a watch. I thought it was pretty good. It's like, you know, if you're looking for something new to watch this Halloween season, I think it's a pretty good option. Yeah, it fit in perfectly there. Are you looking for the series?
Yeah. Well, the OG Omen is Richard Donner.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Who I only know from Timeline, and I guess Superman.
That's funny. And Superman. Yeah.
Oh, and the Goonies. That's right. I feel like we had this conversation where we
probably did. Yeah.
And Lethal Weapon. Like Richard Donner has some heaters under his belt.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how many are there?
There's only 6. So it would be an easier, including this one. There's only 6. There's the original trilogy. There was a remake, and then there was like some sequel thing.
I remember the 2006 one.
I do too, because it came out on June 6, 2006. So it was
spooky.
They like had to, you know, cash in on that.
Yeah, and I remember like the boy. Because doesn't he have like, he's black hair and he's got like bangs or something like that? Yeah. I remember him being like, well, no, I haven't seen that, but he's creepy in the original one. But I do kind of remember the kid in the, like how he looked in the remake, from like trailers or whatnot. Oh, and speaking of, they do a couple like references, callbacks to the original one that were also kind of like, oh, I didn't need that, but yeah. So it's like I said, I have issues, but it, you know, you could do a whole heck of a lot worse with like modern pop horror than this one. Yeah.
And it's got a few like older actors in it, and like every time they were on screen I was like, it was even better, because like the main actress and characters like fine, but like I really liked when those guys were on, because it had Bill Nighy. Charles dances in one scene, sadly, but he's really good in the one scene that he's in. And then Ralph Ineson is probably like the more major one of those guys, and I like all 3 of those guys, so it was great to see them on screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I feel like there have been a lot of reboots and spiritual, you know, successors or whatever. A lot of like those types of horror movies that have been out lately, and none of them have been all that good. So I feel like we're sort of like turning the page a little bit with newer adaptations of classic franchises that are like actually good. Like you said, the Hellraiser from,
I was gonna say, if you didn't say it, I was gonna say
like last year, you know, was surprisingly
I love that one.
Good. So.
That was, that's what I mean. Like if they trimmed up that first act in this would be. I still think that I prefer that Hellraiser, but it would be a lot closer to like how much like I you know, praise that one for how much I liked it.
Yeah, there was another movie that I was kind of interested in seeing, and it is interesting that on at least the Wikipedia page for the First Omen, I guess people have dubbed the First Omen and Immaculate as twin movies. Immaculate is like the Sydney Sweeney nun movie, and that one I've heard
that one gets nutty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going by Rotten Tomatoes, it's at like 70%, which
Okay.
is not bad
Not
for,
bad.
I guess, like,
What's the
because I
First
feel like,
Omen at?
I think it was like 80 something.
Oh wow. Okay. Nice.
81%.
Wow. Yeah.
But usually, I don't know, I feel like Catholic nun horror movies are so played out by now.
Yeah.
Like literally, I'm like The Nun and like
Yeah.
all those. Like what was it?
Yeah.
The
It's
Pope's Exorcist was another
yeah.
one
That's right.
that was
Yeah.
out. Where it's just like these are all like dime a dozen. So it is
Yeah.
nice to see a couple of them rise above the
Mhm.
schlock and like be like interesting or good like on their own terms, despite. I guess in the case of the First Omen being tied to an already existing franchise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not typically a genre that I go for. It was literally just like we had it in the theater. I keep hearing good things. Sure. Like if I didn't get a free ticket and all that, like I might not have seen it. But yeah, the movie which is funny because I haven't seen this movie, but I know enough about it. I've spoiled enough about it. I've seen certain scenes. The movie that it reminded me the most of, and there's a part in particular where I'm like, okay, they had to have seen this movie, is like a movie from the 80s called Possession. Have you heard of that one? It's got like Sam Neill.
I've seen the image of the girl doing this.
Yeah. So that's from this very like famous scene where she's in like a metro hallway, and it's like this one long take where she just freaks out, like just freaks out. And there's a scene in this that's a long take of the main character kind of doing the same thing. She doesn't go quite as hard as she does in Possession.
Interesting.
But watching that, I'm like, and there was like elements before where I was like, oh, this is kind of reminding me of Possession. And then that scene in particular, I was like, this has to be a callback to it.
Oh man,
which is kind of cool, I guess. Yeah.
Damn, she looks like Margaret Qualley.
The one in this one?
In Possession.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was one that recently. I think Wealthy showed that one like a few weeks ago or like a month ago. I think this.
Oh, okay.
I think there must have been some sort of anniversary for it or something along those lines.
Oh, maybe.
But also, I think it's kind of like a classic kind of cult horror movie too. So
yeah,
they like to show those as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, this reminds me. This also like seems to remind me of Suspiria. Is it similar where it's like
Possession?
Yeah, where it's like she's kind of fish out of water and then gets possessed. I don't know anything about it.
No, it's more metaphorical than that, and it's not. No, it's different. It's
okay.
Not, yeah. Again, I haven't seen it, but I have I basically know the whole plot. I've seen some of the crucial scenes like that one.
Okay.
But
man, I feel like we gotta double up in October.
Yeah.
Because there are so many horror movies that like this movie or like the Omen movies where it's almost just like only having 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like we watch more than just what we do on the show, but it's like I don't know. It's like I want to cover so many things.
I know. I do
these cult 80s movies.
Yeah, I do love. Yeah, when it gets to October and I am just like 100% horror movie mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. But yeah, that's First Omen. Pretty good. I gave it a 7 out of 10. So.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, speaking of adaptations of things.
Yeah.
I have been watching the Fallout TV series on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
We are 3 episodes into it, and so far, pretty good. Have you watched any of it?
No, but I want to. The trailers looked good, which was surprising. I thought it sounded dumb as hell. That they were making it now, much like the Halo series, which looks terrible, and I've only heard bad things. But Trailer looked good. It's got some people in it I
yeah.
like.
Walton Goggins is
Yeah.
in it as a ghoul.
Yeah.
Michael Emerson is in it.
Okay.
Benjamin Linus.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
He looks exactly the same. That man, I feel like, does not age. He has one particular look, and he has stayed that look.
Yeah.
Kyle MacLachlan is in it.
Mhm. Yep.
Which it's very funny hearing like Kyle MacLachlan be like, "Oh, have you checked your Pit Boy?" Like hearing him use like Fallout terminology for things is, I don't know, it's very funny and charming to me.
Yeah.
But it's shot well. It looks like they shot it in like real locations. The set is really cool, like because it starts out they're like vault dwellers, like your main actress, and it kind of starts out in like Vault 33. And I don't know how much of it is CGI, how much of it is real, but some of the sets look like there's one set where it's kind of like, they emulate a cornfield because they're underground.
Yeah.
So it's like
I'm familiar
like,
with the games. I know the
yeah, so it's like they have this like artificial cornfield, and they have like a projector that's like projecting like the Nebraskan farm, landscape in the background, and it looks like they built like a big Fallout shelter. Like it looks very good.
That's cool. That seems like something that like Wes Anderson would be really good at. Like that's like one of his sets where he has like the side view, and you kind of like track a lot to all the different rooms,
like when they do the
vault.
submarine in Life Aquatic.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess my only real critiques of it would be that sometimes like characters just a lot of like Deus Ex Machina kind of stuff happens.
Okay.
Where just like some character will just show up in the nick of time to like resolve the conflict. Okay. Where I'm like, it doesn't really make sense. It wouldn't work that way. I don't know. They're like kind of nitpicky stuff, and I'm sure there's more stuff to nitpick. I think the main girl, they kind of have her doing the sort of like Marvel quippy type jokes, which I'm like, eh. But then again, she's like a vault dweller, and like, spoilers, she gets out into the wasteland somehow, and basically she's like interacting with people who like live in the wasteland who are like cynical and hardened and will like, kill you for anything. But she's kind of doing like the hi, hello, how are you? Like,
sure.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, like bumping into somebody, kind of like that, little fish out of water.
Blast from the Past. Did you ever watch that movie with Brendan Fraser?
No.
Oh, I fucking loved that movie as a kid. But it's like his parents, it was like around like Cold War, like Red Scare stuff, and his parents built like a super elaborate like bunker under their house, and there was like an air raid. They thought that there was like nukes gonna be dropped, so they like hide in their shelter. And then they have their kid, and like he basically lived his entire life in this shelter, and then surfaces in like late 90s LA, and it's pretty good.
I like that.
But he's got that same exact sort of like, he's like raised in like the 50s, like 50s culture.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's how he acts and everything.
Yeah, like her whole character, she's very much into the sort of like, I get, propaganda of that time period, where just very like, well, I'm an American and we all have to help each other and build a better tomorrow, like all that kind of stuff. And everyone's just like, shut up, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, immediately just like misfortune befalls her. But Walton Goggins, I think, is really like the highlight of the show, because it's cool what they do with him, because he is like, so I guess the mythology with the ghouls, or at least because I think he's been alive for like 200 something years.
Yeah, they live a very long time. Yeah.
So like you see at the beginning, you see him pre like nuclear blast, etc. And so you kind of they kind of play with time, where like you'll see him in the 50s doing, because I think he's like a movie star essentially.
Oh, okay.
And then so it's like you see him as like a family guy who was this guy from the 50s, and they do a decent amount of like Red Scare type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, oh, we're gonna do this commercial, but wasn't he like blacklisted? Like, very
Okay.
much like House Un-American Actions Committee type
Sure.
shit. And then juxtapose that with him currently, and he's very much like he's a ghoul. He's
Uh-huh.
like just mean and cynical. But he kind of has. I'm trying to think of a good character that would be comparable to like another Walton Goggins character. Maybe a combination of like his character from Django Unchained and like Baby Billy from Righteous Gemstones.
Okay.
Have you seen Righteous Gemstones?
I still haven't seen it, no.
Ah, I mean, he's like the highlight of that show too, especially in
Yeah.
later seasons.
He is pretty good.
But yeah, he's just kind of like that. Just very mean and very funny.
Yeah.
Or wait, no, you said he was in like Justified?
Yeah, that's like, I wonder, like, him playing kind of like a cowboy character. I'm wondering if he'll be like his character in Justified. Be kind of cool.
I would imagine probably.
Yeah.
But it's really hard for us not to binge it. Like before we hopped
Tight.
on to record tonight, Chloe's like, "Do you want to watch one more?" And I'm like, "No, we can't. Like, I don't want to just like watch it all in a weekend." That's another thing I'm slightly bummed about. Is like I wish they would do it week to week, because I like watching shows that way now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not too bad, I guess, now that we have something to watch during dinner for like the next like 4 or 5 nights, and then we're done with that show. But I think it's already been greenlit for like a second season, so it's
Nice.
Who knows how long it'll go on. But this is, I guess we're in the era of good video game adaptations for shows.
Stuff. Yeah.
Or at least a couple of them.
A couple of them.
Like I would say The Last of Us
was good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This seems to be following suit of being like, they could make it really, really bad, but I don't know because I haven't played all the games, so I don't know like how closely. I don't think they're following any one.
That's what I was gonna ask. If, like,
story.
Does the main character have like a main sort of goal? Do you know, like, does she have or is it just she's just living, or is she trying to?
I mean,
what's the Joseph Campbell, like? What's her, destination?
Without spoiling too much, basically, like her dad gets kidnapped.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So I think it's Fallout 3. That's the gist that I got from the trailers, and so I think they're doing Fallout 3.
Interesting. Yeah.
Is her dad Kyle MacLachlan?
Yes.
Nice. That's what I was thinking too. I saw the trailers a while ago. So that's just kind of what I remember from those.
And also, what's the I mean, in the show they're called Knights. Is that what they're called in Fallout?
Are you talking about like the Brotherhood of Steel guys?
Yes. Yeah, there's like a storyline with those guys.
Yeah.
And I will say it looks real. I think they actually built like
the suits
Brotherhood
or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And it looks pretty good. It looks cool.
Like,
I'm glad that they spent the budget on like building those.
The actual suits, yeah. Does it have they said like where it is?
It's in California.
Okay. All right, interesting. So I don't know, they might just be kind of like mixing different ones, cuz 3 takes place in DC.
Mm-hmm.
California might be 4. I know well, there's New Vegas, which is around there. I don't know. Remember.
Yeah.
I'm mostly familiar with that kind of branch. I kind of want to play the first 2. They're like they're isometric, like top down.
Yeah.
Old school RPG. So a different vibe, but I've always been kind of interested in playing those.
We watched like 2 episodes last night, and I re-downloaded it on Steam, the first Fallout.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I should, but I feel like it's like a big commitment. I don't know how many hours that game is, but like
that's why I haven't dove in yet. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they are kind of chunky.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely give it a shot. It's on Amazon Prime. As of right now, 3 episodes in, it's pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty curious to see where it goes. I like it. So
yeah, probably
I'm
once
glad that there's like a show out right now, because like right now there's not really anything on that we're like
into or
it's
whatever.
must see.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll see if I don't remember if I showed Clay a trailer, but because we're still working on the Ripley show, but maybe after that we'll, I guess, with or without her, I'll move on to that one probably afterwards. Do you know how many episodes it is?
8.
Okay. All right. I feel like that's kind of common for a lot of streaming shows.
I will give you a trigger warning. There is a Michael Rappaport jump scare.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know how familiar you are with him.
Well, I know him.
He's, not to get too political, but he's a huge like I love Israel guy on Twitter right now.
Okay.
So as soon as I saw him on there, I was like, God damn it, come on. Like him and like Brett Gelman have gone insane.
Brett Gelman. That's the guy I'm thinking of, right? From like Lemon and stuff.
Stranger Things. He is nuts.
Oh, that's
he's
too
like
bad.
Yeah, he's gone cuckoo bananas over Israel Palestine shit right now.
Oh, dang. Yeah, Michael Rappaport I never cared about too much, but I kind of like Brett Gelman.
I was kind of surprised. I was like, he seemed like a pretty like self-aware dude, but
Huh.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Eagleheart. Yeah, I think that was the first thing I saw him in. I used to like that show. That was like an Adult Swim show.
Oh.
Yeah, well, on that note. Back to normal movies. Look at this. I got the big guy. Let's see what we got. Who knows, though? I could pull something. It's not in
That's terrible.
Like, yeah, we could be wishing we'd be back at the Dud Cup. Who knows?
Yeah.
Returning director, Billy Wilder, directed by him, from 1959, directed by Billy Wilder. I guess I usually say that.
Yes.
Some Like It Hot is what we'll be watching.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Is that a Marilyn Monroe movie?
It is, yeah. Marilyn Monroe.
I've never
Jack
seen a
Lemmon,
Marilyn Monroe movie.
Tony Curtis. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's classic, man. Cool. That'll be, yeah. It's a good one to get back into. I think that's solid pick, if I do say so myself.
Hell yeah.
I don't.
Billy Wilder did Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be worse than a Dud movie, at least. But yeah, all right, cool, kick-ass. If you don't want to be spoiled for Some Like It Hot, watch it before next week's episode. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Spotify. Son of a bitch, why do I keep doing that? On YouTube and Twitch in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all that said, other guys will just feed you lines, but I'll take you to Mickey D's. I'm TJ. I'm with me as always.
As always. And I am Nick.
Yeah.